All right. Hey, everybody. I'm Book Talk with Kay. My co-hosts, Miss Lyha and Joe. And tonight we are interviewing Miss Leone. She's going to tell
Hi.
us about her awesome series she's been working on.
Okay. How's everyone?
Good. How are you?
So, I am great. Here with everyone, really excited. And it's actually a saga that I'm writing, which means it's going to be 26 books in total. I'm in the middle of book four now. I've got three published since this past May. So I've been a writing fiend
Yeah.
to get everything done. I've got the way that the books are going to go. There's going to be multiple series in the books that continue on a straight line as the actual story goes forward. And with all of the different elements into the book, which we can go into when we ask, questions and go through things. Um, there's going to be side stories that come off and all circle back to book one, and you won't actually get the origins of the story and the full lore until book 25.
Oh my
So
gosh.
the which also circles, it continues forward, and um the end of Origins will end at book one. So book one starts right after Origins. And then the very last book, 26, will loop back around to book one as well. So it's going to be written to where everything is a giant infinity loop. And the story is perpetual and never ends.
Okay, you just
So,
blew my mind. Like,
yeah,
that's so intriguing.
that's the way that it's going to be. I'm having some technical issues with my screen. I'm sorry.
You're fine.
Maybe if I take it off and take it back on. There we go. Um, yeah, so for anyone interested, welcome to the Dome City Saga. It starts out with the Dome Cities. The saga is a fusion of science fiction, fantasy, dystopian survival, and dark romance. It has a little bit of everything. But at its core, it's about survival through unity. And it's also got like found family to it, aspects to it as well. Humanity is fractured after the veil tore reality apart. And so it's not just humanity. Basically, we're in the world of the future, and humanity has tampered in this, in the older ancient times, had tampered with genetics and mutations and things like that. And that's thus vampires came about. So they're vampires, but not in the traditional sense. And the same thing for the werewolves. They came about through genetic testing and changes as well. And through these mutations and testing, and always testing their boundaries and trying to, develop more power and technology, humanity sort of reached a breaking point, and they created a mutation that started out with one vampire that happened to be mutated, get mutated. And if he bites anyone or anything, they now become a mutagen as well. And it doesn't matter what species or race you were, you become that. And they are a vile, dark, darker, broody, very methodical, not slow, very calculating enemy known as the Kowloon. And so, in order to avoid that enemy and to survive, humanity, as well as the vampires and werewolves, constructed these dome cities to survive inside, to escape the mutual enemy. And so now you have a mix of different races inside these domes that at one time were connected and all part of a system with shared resources and that type of thing. And over time, since this is dystopian, technology has started to fail, and things have come apart, and the domes have started to become more and more isolated. And so this takes place in our book one. Starts with the first dome, the main dome, where the DC6 characters are. And I'll go into that a little bit more. And it just shows that at this point in time, that with all of the isolation, your resources become limited, and there's a lot of friction within those species. So you know, so hiding inside the great domes, powered by elemental resonance. So I've created an entire resonance. So humanity evolved as well. So you have humans, vampires, and werewolves. And werewolves have villages, and they have their own culture, and they have their own hierarchy and religions, and traditions and things that they do, which is very traditional to the way traditional werewolves are, in that sense of how they're pack oriented, and how they adapt. They have that animal instinct and behavior. And then the vampires are very much in the sense of vampires, a true, like a vampire. There are three main clans that they speak of, and three lords, one lord for each clan. Each clan has a different element that they bring to the vampire species. And so we have three humans as well. So the humans evolved and have become where they evolved to the sense of where they get like telekinesis and elemental abilities, to be able to survive in these stressed, tight, closed, enclosed situations where you have literal enemies within. So in order to survive that, humanity had to evolve as well. So the humans had to evolve. So inside these domes, that are powered through this resonance, they thought they were safe. But outside, chaos brewed everywhere, because that's where all the Kowloon were. And beneath all of this, three human girls, Leone, Nanami, and Serafina, they're the main heroines, you could say, of the story, are chosen as tributes. So they do this big contest, and on top of being elementals, all humans are in different factions and based off of their elemental abilities, and they have to have these boot camps and competitions and combat training to just survive inside this dome. And in order to be stronger, they go through these trials and tribulations. But in order to bridge the gap between humans and vampires and get everybody working on the same page, and form a pact, an alliance, they had to go through this trial. And the three winners of this trial, each winner was going to actually be offered up as a tribute to the vampire clans, and would go be as a liaison between humanity and the vampires, because the pact between werewolves and humans was already established and pretty set. So now they're having to go and bridge that gap between vampires. And so they're chosen as tributes, and instead of fading into symbols like you would think, there'd be little mice going into this lion's den or whatever, and just blending in, trying to lay low. They rise as sirens. So each one has an element that they have, but they learn that as they go and join these vampire clans, due to the technology based off of this ancient, resonance that was built where they're located, humans hadn't been to before. So now that they're there with their elemental abilities, it starts to open and trigger ancient technology. And the tech starts to open up, and the dome starts responding and to different ones at different levels. And so they become sirens that they learn that they end up bound to guardians of lightning, water, and fire. Um, and their awakening forces the vampires, werewolves, and the last bastions of humanity to either ally with one another or collapse. So we have three main heroines that start us out. Lione King, she's the siren of storm and lightning. She's a steady strategist. She powers dome grids and commands lightning storms. Her element symbolizes clarity, truth, and illumination. She literally brings light into the darkness. Nanami, she's mist and water and ice. She's small but mighty. She's very petite, smallest out of the three. Her element purifies and heals and destroys in equal measure. So she can heal something, but she can also destroy it. And you'll learn later as they adapt and evolve and their powers continue to grow that she can actually control moisture within the body as well.
Oh,
So,
wow.
which comes in handy in dealing with certain enemies and things. So she can shift from like nurturing rains to crushing ice within an instant.
Patty.
And yes, and then we have Seraphina, who is really a fireball. I mean, inside and out. So she's fire and earth is her, her element. Flames and warmth in one, but she's also like athletic and kind of like an in your face person. She's the real gritty one and not afraid of anything, not afraid to speak her mind. um, but her fire is both comfort and destruction, reminding us that passion can save or consume. So it's like either way, she can go either way. And so together the sirens are living reflections of nature's raw forces. So their combined resonance is what awakens the guardians, and those guardians are the Weirshade, which is the um, wraith-like creature that's on book one, the cover of book one. This is book three that Lyha has up right now. But that's the wraith there. The phoenix and the kelpie, as it shakes the veil itself. So that's the wraith, and that's the Weirshade. And you learn about him. It is a he, and it's an ancient being that was around since the early um, dawn of the domes and everything. And it plays a key role. And the fact that it starts out acknowledging Leone when it doesn't even acknowledge the vampire nobles. Talon is one of the lords. We have the three vampire lords, and they are they each match each one in ability, in a sense. Like Talon is the lord of House Noxus, and he's the one that Leone ends up going to, and she's light and he's shadow, and he is like the lord of shadows, but he is the ranking prince, I guess you could say, among princes. House Noctis is the noble house of vampires. So he kind of reigns over them all. And then you've got Draven, which is he's military. They are more like the military element, very structured. And he supports Nanami, which is funny because you've got this giant, towering, big, beefy male character and this tiny, petite little, platinum blonde character that's just in your face, and she's all graceful with water and so fluid in all of her motions, and he's rigid and stiff and quiet, and they complement each other in opposite ways. And with Seraphina, she ends up with Reese. So Reese is this flamboyant, dresses to the tens vampire character who is the biggest trickster of them all. It's like a giant Loki character. And so he loves to pick and make fun and joke through the entire saga and series. Um, and so those six characters make up the DC 6.
That's amazing. It's so detailed and thought out. Like, I cannot wait to dive into this.
Well, as the story continues, you'll realize too that there's going to be like Easter eggs throughout the series, and that an NPC side character that you think had no part in the book whatsoever, you just see them in the background delivering, food or dropping off a mail package or something. And then you see some other characters later on, arranging for some espionage or some, unaliving event to happen. You're like, wait a minute, that was that person. So it's going to trigger you to go back to those earlier books and read more, and you're going to want more about that side character because you didn't know that that side character had that part and played that role. And it starts out with the DC-6, and it continues to grow and evolve, and you gain more and more characters as you go along. And some of the ones that are tried and true from the beginning, you may have controversy and change, and they may switch sides, and then they may return, or maybe vice versa. You may have somebody that's in the dark side of things and change. Um, so we have just a few different aspects of that. So I'm not sure where all we want to go into everything.
Okay, first
um,
off, 26 books. Oh my gosh. What made you decide on 26?
I started outlining the story, and I outlined the entire story from start to finish. I'm like, this is what I want. And then I'm like, how can I break it down into books? I'm a mother of a 17-year-old son who's high functioning autistic. And I'm like, okay, I want to write a book that my kid's going to get into. I have a lot of health issues and things that have come up within the last few years, due to certain things, the jab and things like that. And in that respect, I did have like a heart attack last year and everything, and so put things into perspective. And I was like, okay, I want to do something and leave a piece of myself behind for my son, and
Oh,
something that he can remember all the creativity that we had. I have a really strong sense of storytelling and listening to stories. My mother used to read to my sister and I growing up as kids. She was like this literary fiend, and she would devour books. And she would read us stories, and it was just funny because as she got started, she'd read to us, and then all of a sudden she'd go from one part of a paragraph to like 3 chapters later in a silent pause where we couldn't hear her. And she was reading to herself, so we'd have to remind her to go back. And so it's
oh,
just that love of books and literature that I grew up with. I wanted to pass that down, and over time I've been able to get members of my family, and mainly the youth, interested in reading by like using Fear Street books, and Goosebumps and Harry Potter, and just everything you can do to bring them around to reading, because I truly believe that the more you read, it not only expands your mind, but your vocabulary, but it expands your way of thinking, and you're not so
yeah,
isolated. And no matter where you are in your life, you can always open a book and you can be somewhere else, even if it's for a short period of time. So no matter how bad it is, you can be somewhere else. You can be someone else, anyone you want to be. And so I decided I was going to write this book. And it was a story that I'd been coming up with for a very long time. And I thought, I'll keep it to myself. Nobody's going to want to read it. And I wouldn't even write fan fiction. I wouldn't even turn it into like a fan fiction story, because I was just so nervous about it. And like I said, that, having that heart attack and being on heart meds and everything, really woke me up to the fact that I'm not going to be around forever. I'm going to seize the day, carpe diem. I'm going to go for it and make everything what it needs to be. And so I started writing, and I was like, okay, I need to write something that my kid will read, because, autistic, he's high functioning, but has a very short attention span. And this generation has a very short attention span. They don't read a lot of books. So I'm like, what can I do?
yeah.
So I started out I'm like, I'm just gonna do a novella. We'll just see, how it goes, if it grabs their attention, and I'm just write something small. And then as I started outlining, it got bigger and bigger and bigger. And I was like, I want to add this, I want to add that. And before I knew it, I had outlined what was going to be thousands and thousands of pages. So I was like, okay, this isn't going to work. Like, I've got to break it down,
It's a lot.
so I'll
Yeah.
start small. I'll do it smaller books. That's why book one is literally less than 100 pages. I'm like, we're going to see if it's worth grabbing someone's attention. And while it's science fiction and it's fantasy, it's not written like traditional fantasy or science fiction. It's not written in the sense of world building and it's slow moving and all this detail. And then you get into, finally character movement and some action. My books start out with action, and you're in the thick of it. You learn the character development as it goes along. You learn the world building as it goes along. The lore comes out as it goes along, and it's set in real time all the way through the book. Like every book, it's written in real time. So no matter where you are and what character you're following along with, there's no time lapse. It's not like 3 days later there's this, or a month later this happens, or you're here and then in this season and then the next chapter you're in this other season. There is no break. It is continual. And as you're viewing it, it's like you're watching a movie. It is live streaming, live playing in your mind. And as events unfold to the characters in the book, it's unfolding to you too. You're learning as they're learning. You learn as they learn. You figure out as they figure out. And it's not just once or twice. It's not just with one element. It's with everything all the time. Like you are learning as a reader. And as the story progresses, now I'll give you a little spoiler alert. For the next series, so book 1 through 4 are part of the Dome Cities series within the saga. But at the end of book 4, which I am in the process of writing, things transpire. And the domes become offline. They shatter.
Uh-oh.
And so the war, it's like a big war finally comes to a head. And so all of these things have come to pass. And they have to, of course, rise together to fight the mutual enemy, because now the enemy can get to them because the domes have fallen. And they realize that they are not the only people that they thought they were, that there are actually others outside, known as the sentinels, that are outside. And there are different clans and factions of them, and they grew up like wildlings, wild, villages and warring clans, because they had to fight for, resources and things they had outside. Plus they had to deal with the enemies, the elements, and they had animals. So those that are inside, they all share the same language, and dialect and everything, because they understand each other, because they were inside such a confined space. Outside, there are 3 languages that are separate from theirs. And so I had to come up with 3 languages. And
like, how do you do that?
As you go through the books, it gets really, really interesting. I wanted to make the reading experience as much fun for the reader as it was for me to write it. So aside from Easter eggs and aha moments and going back and getting all the additional lore from everything, I wanted to make it to where it's interactive. So there's going to be a codex and a cipher that comes out with book 4. It's going to be published alongside it. And from book 4 on, it's going to become interactive, and you're going to cipher certain phrases throughout the entire saga. And when you get to the end of the saga, in the last book, there will be a page, and it will have a website, and you needed to have decoded the cipher And when you decode it, there will be a phrase. And the first X number of people, I haven't decided if it's going to be 100 or 10 or how many, to correctly enter this code or this, you provide the phrase, they will get once in a lifetime merchandise signed by me, and it's one of a kind that they will receive.
Ooh.
So to get that, the first people. So there's that piece. But going along with the story, as you go through book, you get into the second series, it's the outer beyond. So now they're outside the domes. And you have, all of the people that you're now meeting, plus your allies you have, and you're trying to keep everybody alive and dealing with this one big, battle and enemy that's going on. And meanwhile, everybody that's been in the domes have not experienced the elements outside or the animals or the plant life or the wildlife or anything. So now they've got a whole new set of challenges and things that they've got to deal with on top of the regular enemies and enemies from within that they didn't know existed. So there's a whole lot of espionage and corruption within the system. Powers that be that didn't want resources shared, didn't want the domes coming back online, because as the sirens go into these places, go all over in the domes, it triggers this system to come back up and running. So the veil comes back online, and so the domes start chiming in, and they find out there were other people in these other domes that they thought were long since gone, have been flourishing too, just isolated like them. So now they're all having to come back and unite. And so then in the outer beyond, they're dealing with all of these extra things. They're having to get all of that squared away. And during this series, during that set of books, you're going to get the side stories. So it starts with like the werewolf history, and it goes in reverse and it loops back around to one. And then you'll get the vampires. You'll read the next book, and then the side series starts for them. And you're going to get their history all the way back to one. And then you go a little further, and you get the Bunker City elemental humans, and it cycles back around to one. And so as the story continues, you still got these ciphers, you still got these Easter eggs, you still got these NPC characters, and it just continues going. And so they get this signal. They hear a signal after they finally defeat the Kowloon. They think the enemy's done. They've made peace, and they try to make peace. And they finally, they start getting a signal from across the water. None of them are ever been wayfarers. None of them have ever been ocean, based peoples. And so they have to figure out how to get across the water and deal with whatever's out there to figure out what this distress signal is coming from, what this signal is. And so it takes them to another part of the world that expands. So as the books continue, you'll get a world map, and the world is gradually expanding. So as the world is building, the world is literally growing. And so it's becoming bigger and bigger as they move on. And in this third book that Lyha had up a moment ago, this is the first one. This is every book that I have, there's a theme, if you notice. The domes in the background, and the things change. It changes based on the book itself. So I'm one of those fantasy writers that I'm not going to just put a sigil, I'm not going to just put a symbol and let that be the cover of my book. I design all of my covers. I design all of my graphic art, all of my character art, all of my videos. If you go out to my profile, you get to see that I animate my characters after I design them. So there's videos and shorts of them that give you an idea of their personalities, of how they are and the chemistry between them. And it shows you, like the vampire clans, it shows you like their houses and their homes and that region of the world in the video. So you get a video graphic as well. And so as it goes through this particular character, the sci-fi piece, it's not just the technology and how things evolved, but Echo is a character that's in this book at this point. He starts moving forward and becomes a really important character. And his it's funny because his elemental ability is a type of resonance with the veil itself. So he can actually connect to the domes and the technology, the ancient technology. He's human, but he has the ability to feel and source and sense all of it everywhere. And he can activate it and trigger it and run it and operate it, and it reacts to him. And so, and he's learning too because his ability is so rare, no one else has had it for like 500 years. So he's new and an anomaly, and so they're having to learn what it means for him as well. So our big baddie in book one, the Kowloon leader, is Caspian, and he's older and very smug, very narcissistic, all around narcissist. He's attractive, he knows he is, but he's very methodical and he's angry at what they did because at one point he was a member of them. And because they did this to him and mutated him, they decided to remove him and build the domes. And so he's very bitter about it. And along the way, he ends up developing because he can see and sense into the domes, and he still has, like I said, there's espionage and insiders inside the domes working with him that you learn throughout the time. And so he, over times, he can see Leone, and he becomes obsessed with her. He's got to have her. And it's her ability. He can see what she can do. We do have, like I said, we have the six all together. They each have their own powers, their own abilities, but Leone is more than just her capability. We learn that as the story goes along, and he can identify her from who she is, and decides he wants her, and he will stop at nothing to get her. And that's how the first series of this saga play out. It's mainly about this story where he wants her, and he will stop at nothing. And it's beyond a want or a need. It becomes feral obsession, and so he will do anything within his grasp, even if that means, kidnapping her twin brother. She has an elemental twin in the story. And you don't hear too much about his abilities in the beginning because he's a council member for the Bunker City. So he's on the elite of leaders, the group of leaders that lead the community. And so you hear more about that. And he's the person that cemented the pact with the werewolves. Their allegiance is to him, and through him, humanity. And so that plays into the back history of the werewolf lore. So you get to learn about that pact and how it was formed and why it was formed through that story. So they play a crucial part. The wolves play a crucial part. The vampires, the humans, they all have to play a part in this together to survive. And it's not until they travel across that ocean, sea, water source and get to the source of that signal that they don't actually meet the huge, big baddie that they don't even realize ever existed. And they have to leave some of them there to kind of slow what's happening. And some of them have to journey back in a smaller force to get everyone else to come over and fight this ultimate huge world saving battle that comes in epic, just like, Lord of the Rings. It's like a huge epic battle scene where they have to come together to survive. And it's not just wolves or humanity or vampires, it's every living, breathing organism, plant life, everything. They have to survive. So they have to fight this and survive. And they have to come together to do it or they won't survive. So it's like, will they or won't they? You have to get through it and read it to see how it plays out. But that is
Wow.
our that's the saga. Like I said, I'm on book 4 now. 1 through 3 are out, and it's a fun story. I'm having a blast writing it. I'm not sure they're sorry. I
No,
tried
you're
to
fine.
reject a call at the same time. Uh, and it's just there's so much to tell and so much to it, and it's like I said, as the characters build up, we have random characters as a result of one of my books, designing a video and creating some AI and with it, and trying to animate and get it to work. um, a character just happened to come along accidentally. And so
I
I was
love
like,
that.
that is too funny. The background that I have for the bookmarks right there is like an ancient Mayan Aztec Incan type symbol. And because I was looking for ruins, and when I was generating my videos and doing things like that, when I learned that I need to animate them myself. The first one I did using AI, and I thought, we'll just try this out and see. And I was like, let's see if this works. Um, I said, make this picture real, make it come to life. And boy, did it. Um, it made the symbol come to life. So all of a sudden, I had my 6 characters moving around and talking, which was great. But then all of a sudden, this Aztec, Mayan, Incan warrior just comes in on the screen. And I'm like, he looks so much like Orin. He looks like one of the characters that's from, House Vire. And I'm like, that's the militant house. And I'm like, Draven's house. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to use this character and I'm going to use this as a marketing aspect. And so I turned it into one of my videos where they're all coming in for a photo shoot to do some marketing, like they're there for marketing. The characters are there. And then all
That's
of a sudden he
cute.
shows up, and the commentary is, well, who's this guy? Where's the shirtless guy? Shirtless Oren, and it's like, who is this guy? Who does he think he is? And the guys are making comments and the girls are making comments. And meanwhile, you've got this, you know, uh, Playboy character that's just walking around on the screen. He's like, hi, everyone, I'm here for the photo shoot. And so I decided to with it. And I'm like, this is great. So it adds more to that character. And it evolved to where Oren is like Draven, who is the Lord of House Fire, the military vampire lord. He's his right hand man. So Draven in the t-shirt, if you can see it, Draven is on the left at the top. He's wearing the blue uniform. And Lyha, I don't know if you have the characters, but if you have Amazon, I have all of the characters in Amazon.
I
Like
have.
on my Amazon books, if you scroll down, you'll see like all of their character art because I uploaded them into Amazon so that when anyone gets the books, they can picture who it is that they're reading about. Um, yeah, so I wanted to make
So,
sure that everybody.
what's the timeline for your books to release? Um, 4 and
Um,
is amazing, but
yeah, 4 is the next one that's coming out. It takes. I don't have ARC readers or beta readers, so I'm the only reader until you read. So
wow.
I do my own editing. I do, pretty much everything. I'm a one-stop shop. And I want to read everything and have full creative control of it because I feel like I have to tell the story the way it needs to be told in order for everyone to get the same experience, And so I don't have beta readers. Typically it takes me within if I'm so book 1 was 80 pages. That didn't take very long. It took just like 2 weeks to write it, and then I edited it and formatted it and then released it. And um, but book 2 and 3 are both within like 160, 150. And the reason why I started writing the pages lower is because in order to print an omnibus, and I've already thought that far ahead, I'm going to be making omnibus out of my series. So within the saga, there's going to be an omnibus for each of the series. You know, the Dome Cities, the Outer Beyond, you know, and everything. Um, and in order to do that, um, a press, you know, there's only a few press companies that will actually go and print an omnibus to begin with. But you'll learn when you're starting out as an author and you're writing, you know, what your limitations are. They only will print up to 1,000 pages in an omnibus. So I'm like, I can't have every book being 500 pages. I can't have it being 700 pages. It would be very easy for me to make these books, combine them in and reduce the number of books and make them thicker, because I really want to just keep writing, you know, I don't want to stop. um, but they won't fit in the omnibus, so I had to take that into account. So even Origins, when you get to book 25 and you get the origin side stories that come out at the same time, it's only 2 books and each book is 500 pages. So I've even taken that into account. And So I wanted to make it to where I could market it. It would also tell the story and have flow. And there is zero interruptions or breaks between books. Where one leaves off, the next one immediately picks up. There's no time lapse. So the story is ongoing, it's continual, and it leads you forward. Um, I don't know, Lyha, if you can go out on TikTok on my profile and look at any of the videos, but I actually animated that book cover. And so it's pretty interesting how that actually came about as well. Um, yeah, those are my characters. They're the DC 6. So from left to right, you have Lione, Nanami, and Serafina. And then below them are the vampire lords. You have Talon from House Noctis, Draven from House Fire, and Reese from House Zorin. And it gets pretty interesting. So, like a little bit more of backstory on Bunker City. It's the last true human stronghold. It's hidden underground in a network of survivors, engineers, and rebels who refuse to let the council control the last scraps of freedom. So there's still like little, you know, I want to say revolutionists within, you know. So there's like little micro battles and things that happen inside. Um, and and then like with the werewolf tribes, it's Calruin is the name of their clan, I guess you could say. It's also their village, like the main village. They're born under blood moons, which tells the different tribes apart. These tribes keep alive with primal rituals of earth. Their prophecy of the three who sing, they have a prophecy, predates even the domes. It starts out before the domes. And you learn that that's how they become sirens, is because when they're there and they each have different like periods of time where they will hum something or sing something. And when they've triggered their abilities, especially when they get to these vampire clans, that they've learned that music and sound amplifies what they can do. And it changes what they can do and how much control they have. So they become true sirens, like sirens of the deep. You know, they sing on top of it. And it predates even the domes. So some of those prophecies tie back to origins. So it ties all the way back. They fight with a raw fury, and they carry ancient memory of the bonds that once united the world, like together. So like even though through their bloodlines, it's like their memory is like a resonance that passes down through bloodlines due to the blood moons. So as they step in, they get memories of the world and the way things were and how things should have been and how what things have happened. And with those leaders, it's like sometimes it'll trigger a memory that they didn't know they had, and it belonged to and like an ancient predecessor of themselves. And so they start getting to encapsulate these memories as well and uncover more truths about the world and how it began. And during Tarn and Serafina's arcs, because there's a part, Tarn is Leone's twin brother, and there's a big arc for him and a romantic interest for him as well. So, of course, romance bonds between these, 6 characters. That's just how it's formed. They're enemies to lovers, every single one of them. Some of them take a lot longer to form the love than others. It's slow burn. Since they are vampires, and vampires, they don't like humans, and humans don't care for vampires. It's like a taboo thing from the get-go. When they join the clan houses, the girls have to they have trials when they get to these houses that the vampires decide for them. And it's like, if you don't beat this trial, you get sent home and you can't stay there. So they have to fight from the beginning just to survive in those homes and to be able to stay in those the vampire clans, to stay where they're supposed to be. And they all have, humanity has the technology. So they have like communicators that they can communicate with, and they check in. And the vampires get fascinated by that too, because humanity has, tricks and trades in order to survive. So they had to get, they've got the engineers and the designers and things like that. And so they're able to show them little weapons and little tools and things that they can use that enhance them, and can make life better for them as well. And so it's just really interesting how the whole thing plays out. And with the Wire Shade, it plays a huge part through the entire saga. And it's an ancient being, an ancient power, and guides Lione as her guardian. Which Talon, as the noble, vampire prince, he's like, wait a minute, he sees it, and it bows to her. And it has never bowed to anyone, but it bows to Lione. It recognizes her ability. And even that's way before she ever comes into her power, her true power. She's just, on her way to the vampire clan, and they go in through the gates of House Noctis, and here's this wraith creature looking at her through the carriage window, and she has no idea what this thing is. But she's not afraid of it. It doesn't show her, any fear toward her. And others are, petrified, terrified of this thing. And even the vampires fear it because of how ancient it is. It predates them. So there's a lot of guardians. There's a lot of elements. The story, like I said, continues to unfold as you go along. And where you think they're headed, it goes in the opposite direction. You find out along the way that because of everything that was done to Caspian, you actually start developing as a reader. This didn't happen as a writer, but as the reader, when I went back and read the story before I published, doing one final review, as I get to be the first reader, you actually start developing, you understand him, and you actually start to pity him, and when you realize what happened. In the beginning, not so much, not with anything that happens, but as it goes forward, you realize what happened. And he actually acted out at one point and he ends up with a daughter that he ends up raising, but does not treat her kindly by any standard. And thus there's conflict between her and him, and she starts leading his army. And so at one point, there's a lot of the story is whether or not she's going to stay loyal to him or flip sides, so it's that adds a whole nother level. And meanwhile, the additional characters keep stepping up, and you have other characters that are on the council with Tarn, like Mira and other people that are joining in, and each one, they have their own lives and their own stories, and they start playing a major part in the story. And then as they evolve, then romances evolve, and hatred evolves, and jealousy evolves, and you get cattiness in certain areas too. So you're gonna get that as well, especially with the vampire lords, because there are vampiresses that are just like, no human is beneath me, beneath us, and so it gets
Yeah.
pretty interesting how it goes. So
If anybody has any questions, go ahead and drop them so we can get them answered for Miss Leone.
Leone, fair warning, I don't know if you've been reading down there, but Fee's planning on buying the bundle of all your books and
mhm.
having you sign them. So beware. Your fingers are going to hurt worse than they already do from all the tapping I have you do.
Well, that's okay. I That's fine. I'm still gonna let her know about the Barnes and Noble in Shreveport. That's ordering. They've ordered the copies of 1 through 3, and they're gonna have me come in and do a signing to sign all of them, and
That's
they're gonna put them
amazing.
on display, and they're gonna sell them on display there. I've also been there's a bookstore in Canton, Texas, which is a small bookstore, but apparently they have a huge event space, and they found out about my books, and they want me to come over there and promote other people from this area to go there as well. And a huge convention, Rebel in Realms. It's a fantasy dark romance convention,
Yes.
and at Rogers, Arkansas. Yeah, they have reached out. I was one of the first ones that they reached out to, and I actually am a member of their Arcanon. So that'll be fun.
Ooh.
That's where I will be in July, this next July, and it's still open for authors and other artists. So it's like if anyone's interested to come join me in July, that's where we'll be.
I wish.
So
Megan asked.
That's amazing.
Sorry, go ahead. What?
oh, that's okay. What did Megan ask?
She
Oh,
wants to
who
know
is
who
my
your favorite character.
Ooh, it gets hard. That's the thing about this. I would have to say, mm, you follow along with Leone the most, and I guess she's the one that I first started writing the book about. Um, but it's going to be funny to hear this from me, but the main person that I love most out of all of the characters, or out of the characters, everybody that has to do with the book, it's going to be the reader. Because as you go along, you're actually a character. And so it's really fascinating how it plays in. But
Yeah.
so I would have to say, between the six of them, you're going to love each of them. And like where you think one is phenomenal, the next thing you know, you love the next person. And just like I say, I talk about the DC6, and the DC6 evolves past these books into DC12, and it goes up in number. And so now it's like you're not just loving these six, you're loving 12 characters. And it's like you don't want anything to happen to any of them, because you are attached, they are devoted, they are carrying you forward with them. They each have their own special place in my heart. You've got Draven, who is, the Lord of House Buyer, and he's quiet and reserved, but strong and masculine, and right there in a blink, he's got this, brotherhood that he has, and this camaraderie that he has, and this sense of protection. And Nanami is spunky and playful and fluid and teasing. She's always teasing and nurturing at the same time, and just a little, feisty. And then you've got Reese, where he is just this huge, like, goofball class clown, for a vampire lord with all of his aristocracy. He wears, if you can see him down in the bottom right, you can see his uniform is just his clothing is so much over the top compared to everybody else. And he's the biggest, like, jokester of everybody. He goes around, and one of the videos that I made for him, it's like he's there doing a photo shoot, and it's like outtakes. Like he can't stay still, and he starts laughing and doing all of these things, and he's doing these outtakes because that's exactly what he would be doing. And so he's constantly like cracking jokes at Serafina, and she's not having it, And so it's just so much. She's so serious and stern to everything and hard, and he's so soft and airy and funny and playful. So it's hard to identify just one. And Talon, of course, because he's like the ultimate dark prince, right? He's broody, he's silent, he's all about everything. And one of the videos that I animated, you can kind of see how he is the protector. Like his instinct is quicker than everyone else's, including the other lords. And they're all standing on this hillside, and the shadow army starts coming up behind him. And his first instinct is like he turns around first, and he's like, "It's on, come at me!" And like he'll step up and he'll take you all on. And he's in a sense, he doesn't only, need to protect her and everyone else, but he has this sense of, noblesse where they protect everyone and all things. And so he's got to give up basically everything. He gives up his kingdom, he gives up everything. He will walk away from it all for her. Like, hands down, he will just up and walk away. He doesn't care who you are. He's going to let you know. Like wherever she's at, whatever she needs. Heaven help you if you get in the way, because he's going to come right through you. And very powerful. Kind of, it's a slow burn series. I won't say that it starts out just hot and heavy in the middle. It is written so that my son, again, my teenager, my son, can enjoy it. So people were asking, I know this story comes up with a lot of readers, is there any smut scenes? And I'm like, no, not in this series. I mean, it's a slow burn romance. It's romance through and through. You're gonna get heat. You're gonna get a lot of heat. But as far as just the knockdown, drag out smut, not in this series. I can't write that and have my son read it. I'm like, no, I couldn't face that person again.
No.
And I've worked really hard as, for this brand and for my name, and I want to make sure that it's tied to this because this is such a phenomenal saga. And once it's all written and you get to see everything, I mean, it's epic. It's going to be a huge story. And with so many twists and turns of so much of a world and so many elements and just how it keeps expanding. And it opens the reader's mind. So you start out narrow, you start out here, you've got one problem, and it just explodes one after another after another. And so I just can't ruin that. I do have other books. I have horror books that I've got waiting to be published. I've got romance, I've got some adult romance waiting to be published. But when they come about, they will not be in this under my pen name. They will have to be under another name because I just can't. I've got to keep this true to this genre.
Well, I love that. You've got to stick to your morals with that. That's good.
Right. It's a good enough story on its own. It's just like some movies, like some movies, it doesn't matter if that minute and a half scene's in there or not. Sometimes it's like, okay, they threw it in there, but it makes no sense. And like I could do that, but really with how much action is going on and how much, it's just constant back to back to back. There are so many things happening, and it's like that would make no sense for me to throw something that extreme into it in the middle of it. You would be, caught off guard. It just wouldn't play a part.
I don't think we need it. Definitely don't think we need it.
So I gotta ask, what would your romance novels in name be, or horror in name?
Yeah, we need that like ASAP.
Well, I've got one that's a spring break getaway type of thing, and it's like getaway. So some friends decide to go to a cabin to get away. They're younger. And they decide to go have fun. And then they get out of town. They live outside of Colorado, Denver, Colorado. So, a lot of mountains and a lot of ice. And they decide to go to a cabin in the woods. And before they leave, and I started this when I was younger, so that's why it's a young adult story. Um, and one of the students happens to overhear a teacher talking to some person and doesn't hear the full story, just is like, doesn't pay any attention to it, but there's like an interaction and it's kind of negative. And she gets assigned this huge assignment. And so she leaves, they leave, and they go out to this cabin to, cheer her up or whatever. And it belongs to, there's two sisters and they're well to do. And then it's got three other characters that are not so well to do. They're just with them. They're all a group of friends. They started out in, elementary school, being bullied, picked on, made friends the old fashioned way. And now they're together in this. And so two of them are real popular, and of course, so they go out of town. So, the jocks kind of follow them out there, and along the way, some odd things happen, and they end up, the guys end up leaving, or they think they do, and some other guys that they know that live across the lake are out there, and they end up having to team up together because there ends up being a killer, unaliver. There ends up being an unaliver, F1. Somebody. There ends up being an unaliver that's out there stalking them, trying to get to this main character. Her name is Jessie. And trying to get to her. They don't know why. They don't know who this person is. And as they're out there, trying to survive because they're in the wilderness, a huge ice storm comes in and it cuts them off from town due to an avalanche, that comes down. So they can't get into town. They're stuck out there. They're trying to get the county and people to come out and help them. They're having to deal with this person that is trained to do this. It is a professional person, and he's after them, and so they're trying to survive and go in different things. And she ends up ultimately getting abducted by this character, and they end up having to figure out a way to go and rescue this person. And I don't know how much of it I want to give away, but it has a lot of twists and turns. And it ends up being something completely opposite of what your mind ever thought about being, as to why this person is after them. And at one point, you're not sure if it's a person or a thing that's after them.
Oh.
So,
Nice.
it could be a person, it could be a thing, and they
You
don't
have to
know.
read it to find out.
You don't know until the very end. Yeah, you have no clue.
When is this coming out?
That one I'm still working on, but in order to work on it, it stops me from working on this one. And so I'm like, I've got to give and take. Plus, I work full time. I work for a college full time right now. And I'm also getting my master's. I'm 3 classes away from that. So I'm kind of got a lot of irons.
Congratulations.
Thank
That's
you.
so
I got
hard.
Way to
a lot.
go.
And on the side, I am also looking in the early phases of setting up an indie publishing company. So Firefire Publishing, I'm setting it up so that way I can help publish or help other indie authors publish and get published. So that way they
I
don't
love
run into
that.
Wow.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I didn't start out with coming to Book Talk first. And I didn't start out on this way. I just started writing and then editing, and then I published, and I was like, let's see where it goes. And now that I've written 3 books and I've getting, like the reviews are coming in and other people are interested, and I'm building up my fan base here. I think I'm up to like 1,600 followers. Yay.
Woo.
Yeah, those videos, yay. I'm able, and I'm reaching out to so many new people. I'm learning, meeting a lot of voice actors and narrators and readers and other authors. It's opened my eyes to that there's a bunch of indie authors out there that struggle to not just write, but they don't know the formatting, they don't know the editing, they don't know publishing. And you don't learn what the ins and outs are with some of these publishers and these platforms that you have to use until you go through it. And you can actually, some of them are actually detrimental, and they can actually impact and hurt your work and hurt you as an author.
Oh,
So I want to be able to offset that and fix that and try to make it to where we can launch even, because I have the website already. I just have to roll it out, and it's going to showcase each author that I have that comes into the publishing firm is going to have their own website within that publishing firm. So it's going to be a way to showcase, and they're going to have a blog, and they're going to be able to talk to their readers, not just through
amazing.
newsletters and emails, because that's so difficult to do. Most people end up with mods, or they end up with a PA or someone that helps get all of their communications out. That's such a huge job. But this is something so they can be more personable with their people, on their day to day, had some coffee during, wrote 7 pages, looking out the scenery, whatever it may be. It's so you can get a day in the life of the author as well. So you get more of that human element and interaction, because people forget that the people that write books are people too. And, they have a lot of life happening. And so they're writing, and you're having to be, if you're an indie author, if you've never written a book, you're an indie author, you're everything. You're a one-stop shop, and you are PR and marketing. And if you've never done PR and marketing in your life, and you don't like to come in and talk to people live, like me, I'm rarely am I on live. So yay, here I am. Usually like Oz, I'm behind the curtain. Um, but it's, you don't like to talk in front of people, and you may not have those skills to be able to market your book. And I read earlier, I watched a video from another indie author, and they were complaining about a bad review, that unsolicited review. And, telling the viewers and other people, readers, not to go on there and not to give an author a bad review, and, and why they shouldn't do that. I'm the opposite. I'm like, I want to know your bad reviews. I want to know what you didn't like about the story, because it tells me what you're looking for. And I've met enough indie authors, and I know enough writers now and readers that if I can't touch you, and I can't fulfill your need with my book, and I can't boost your life with what you read from me, then what you're wanting, chances are I know somebody who can, and I'm going to connect you with the right person. So I'm all about sharing other people's works as well, and promoting as many people as I can through whatever I do. And I know right now it's kind of difficult. I try to be in more places than one, and I try to support as many people, and I jump on as many lives as I can to try to get word out for their books, or their they're musicians, or they're voice actors, narrators. And I try to connect authors with those people, because maybe you want an audiobook, and so you're looking for that service. Madam Scarlett, shout out to her if you're interested. She has her own company.
Pretty awesome.
But
Yeah.
it's just trying to get word out there. And I think if I can use my platform, me as an author, to showcase why I started writing to begin with, for my son, and leaving a legacy for him and, the young readers. I'm very much writing for the future, not just writing for the people of today. I'm writing for everybody that's coming later, and trying to continue with the written word. I mean, I love ebooks and everything, but I love print. I adore holding a book in my hand, and I really want to promote that. So I do have collector's edition book 1 out there. It is a hardbound collector's edition, has graphic art inside it, available on the Zon. And these 3 books are published also on Barnes & Noble Press. So I have that as well. The audiobooks. Yes, at one point we'll have audiobooks. And it'll be great. Especially when you have those 6 different characters all going at it, it's going to be great. For that piece. But it's more like a movie that plays out. in your mind. And like with this graphic, at some point there's going to be a graphic novel. So it's going to be
Ooh.
graphic novels. So it's going to be able to reach, the youth that way. I've also had several people reach out, game designers, indie game designers and stuff, reach out and ask if I'd be interested in making it a video game series. So
That'd be
there's a
so
lot
cool.
of possibility with this, that could open up doors. With it being a saga, it's a franchise in its own right. So with
Hmm.
this world, it's so big and everything that's being written with it. Like I said, I have those other books, and I have a couple others that are animal, like creature feature horror books, in the works. Well, um, but it's just, um, it's consumed so much of my time right now, my free time, as much as I can, to get it written, that I just don't want to lapse, and I don't want to leave anything out, and I want to give it as much of my attention as I can.
Yeah.
Okay, let's finish this up with your dream cast for the six main characters. If it went to
Oh,
Okay.
film or movie.
oh, oh.
This was the worst question, by the way. Like, if I'm going to be asked any question, this one is going to take me down, because I seriously, I'm like looking at all of the people that I could cast, and I was like, okay, I'll start out with Leone. And I started going to her, and I was like, no, 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 I don't like this person. I don't like this person. And I ended up, for her, I ended
That'd be
up
awesome, Jason.
picking, I think I went along with Lily Collins, if you know who she is. She was on
Oh,
Mirror, Mirror,
yeah.
Emily in Paris. Mortal Instruments, because she still has that edgy side to herself, but she still has a classic, regal, kind of, deeply romantic feel. She can
Hmm.
be playful and spunky and supportive as well. So, and, I kind of went with her. Um, then for Nanami, it was kind of harder because she's smaller and she's petite, and for some reason, people hear Nanami and they think it's automatically Asian, and so I'm like, okay, do I want to cast, an Asian person, for that? And I'm like, uh, Rila was really good in the Wolverine and the Ghost in the Shell, and I was like, she would be really great because she'd serve as like a striking, like ethereal fierceness, but then still be dangerous, and she'd be kind of like haunting for her. But I think the person that I ended up choosing for that would be Kana Hashimoto. She's Asian, and of course, but she's like the closest to her in size, because that plays a key role. You've got Nanami is a
First off,
Lolita type little petite person. She's very, very, very tiny. So you'd have to find somebody, when you're casting. You have to find somebody that could fit that role as well. So height came in, and I'm like, while I love Gal Gadot's look, for Leone would be great, but she's super tall, and that is not Leone at all. So I'm like, that would not work. And I'm like, well, we'll just have to see which ones we do for for Draven. I really like Henry Cavill. I mean, of course, everybody does, but I'm like, that
Yeah.
would be like a really good, because of his Witcher character. He showed, and like, of course, with Superman, like, he showed that you can be, his silent and just his facial features do so much of the talking for him. And that's true to Draven. He keeps all of his emotions pretty much to himself. They come through every so often um, when she's in trouble, but that's really what it is. For Serafina, it was so hard for Serafina, because who I pictured when I think of her is a young Jessica Alba character. And I'm like,
Oh.
who in the world could serve in that capacity now? I mean, she could still do it technically because she looks super young enough to do it, but we need that build, and we need that overall ability. And so I think the first person that I was thinking about was like, I think Camelia Mendez from Riverdale and Do Revenge, because she's got the dark features, and she's she's intense. She plays these firebrand roles. She's very sarcastic, right? She's snippy. She's gonna
Felicia.
fight you. That is so Serafina's edge. She's definitely gonna get you one way or the other. I was leaning toward maybe Jenna Ortega, but I don't think she could pull that role off to that ability because she's too small. I have a feeling for that. And then I was like, well, I would either go with her, or if I had to pick someone more mainstream, I would go with Zendaya. Like if I was going to go mainstream, it would be the athletic build. She's got that attitude and edge. She's got this magnetic screen presence. And then that would work out really good because I was really thinking of doing
Tom Holland.
no, not Tom Holland, Timothy Chalamet as
Oh.
Reese.
But I
Because
love Tom Holland.
I love Tom Holland, but when I think of Tom Holland, I think more of Leone's twin brother Tarn because of how he would be that role.
Yeah.
Kind of like a protector, kind of like he's there but still kind of not. And I was like, we could do that. And then the other person that I was thinking about, Reese, which I'm not sure, but I was really thinking of going with Timothy Chalamet, but would be Hero Tiffin, if y'all know who that person is. He's in the After
Yeah.
series.
So
and
good.
I was like,
Yeah.
he's known for being more like a broody, romantic, mischievous playfulness character. And of course, coming up with that would be my closest picks for this person. For these people, but it's like I couldn't really isolate. I'm like looking at the current cast. I'm like even looking at TV cast. I'm like, okay, there's not someone out there yet. We'd have to cast new people for these roles. We'd have to really like delve in because these people would have to pull out all the stops to do this because it would be theatrical, just like Lord of the Rings, and it would be like action and cinematography and technology like the Matrix, and it would be dystopian, just like Hunger Games or oh my gosh,
The Divergent series.
yeah, Divergent series. It would be like that. Like it's gritty, and I wouldn't necessarily, since these are new characters and it's a new story, it's a new outlook on things, and it's a new world. I would want somebody new. I mean, I couldn't even cast anybody from like the 100. I was even going to that extent. I'm like, what do we have? Who do we have?
Yeah.
And
But Bellamy was cute.
Yeah, I would definitely want it to be somebody new.
Oh,
You do that,
Leonie,
I
by
would
the way,
like to
Fee
live
said earlier,
audition.
Fee says she could play Seraphim for you.
Oh, okay, that works. That works.
Let's
That
go.
works. Hardest one to find then would be, Nanami at that point. I need to find an itty bitty teeny tiny person.
Joe.
But yeah, Joe might could do it. AB maybe because she's 4'11".
Oh,
That one. That one.
yeah, that's true.
AB.
That might work.
AB is, and
4'11".
she's hot.
And so that just might work. And she's blonde, so I think that would work too. For that character because she's blonde.
Get it. Get it.
She's a platinum and she has violet colored eyes. So it's pretty enigmatic. Each character.
You and AB with violet colored eyes.
Dude, she dropped that.
Being
She
smart
was
and
right.
playful with
100%.
this tall hunk masculine man, yeah.
I just want to see the
Putting
live
him in-
auditions.
Putting him in his place, having to remind him that, he has a place.
Oh, and Fee decided
Oh,
you're
yeah.
playing Leonie.
Oh, okay. Maybe. We have to see. We have to see,
Was-
but that would definitely be fun.
Was
Go ahead,
Leonie
sorry.
based off of you? Sorry.
There's attributes to her that's based off of me. Growing up, some challenges that I faced and things that I had, and I was really close to my brother. He's no longer with us. And I took a lot of elements from him to put into my story. And I wish you could pull up the dedication page on my first book because it's written to my son. And the thing about my
It
son
says,
is
hold on.
I call him my son. He's my SUN, not my SON. So my world
Aw.
has revolved around him. And, he brightens up my days. He makes everything better, and so he's my son. And I dedicated book one to him. Book two was dedicated to everyone out there who's ever gone through anything and overcome whatever it is in the face of adversity, to keep going. And book three, I dedicated to my younger sister. She's a little bit more hardcore than me. She's a truck driver, and so I felt like there's a lot of hardworking women out there, and that are seldom seen for all that they do, and needed to be acknowledged for that presence. That presence in my life and that presence in the lives of others.
Love that.
It's hot.
Okay. You wanted the dedication page?
Yes, from book one.
I know, I'm looking for it. Is it all the way at the end? Got the author.
Give it to me, baby.
You guys, we almost have 150K likes. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
So now I'm upset because it doesn't show it in Kindle.
In Kindle?
Yeah, I'm looking for it.
It's in
Dumb
the font, I
City
think, on the
published.
sample pages.
Published, no part of the book may be reproduced.
Yeah, if you go to
Contents. Oh, for my little son, whose incredible mind inspires me to build brighter worlds. Shine on forever, and remember, the box never existed. Not to us, anyway.
Oh,
because
I
he's
love that.
with his autism, I grew up learning with my parents. They were very diverse, with the way that we were, and I grew up learning that live outside the box to be outside the box, being original. And with my son and him being autistic, and it was a whole nother thing to learn. I had to take like parenting for autistic classes. Like I had to learn. No one in my family was autistic. And I'm like, how do I help him? And I was a single mom doing it. I'm like, so how do I help him? What do I need to do? And he went from nonverbal, completely nonverbal, couldn't answer questions, couldn't spoke in first person, and to now he's a teenager that's just like any other teenager that just never shuts up. It's like, okay, give me a minute. What were you? And so for him, we live outside the box. We don't just live outside the box. Now we can recognize everybody that's outside the box. But to us, we look at them, and it's sad because you can see people in the box trying to conform to everyone else, and then you see the people outside the box trying to, still guide them and still fit in for the people that's in the box. And then here we are, there's no box. The box was never there. It's a human construct.
Yeah.
There is no box. We're all different, and it's okay to be different.
That's so
We're
sweet.
That's so beautiful. Yeah. Beautiful.
And good on you. All that hard work.
Yes. Actually, it's incredible. I actually have a letter written from his developmental delay specialist thanking me for how much love and energy and stuff that I put into him nurturing, because without that, he wouldn't have been able to evolve. And he wouldn't be speaking. He wouldn't emote. And now, he's made a 75% evolutionary growth. Like he has surpassed. He went from special education classes to general education to now he's a 4.0 honors. He's up for honors graduate. He's a senior this year, and highly brilliant. And likes to say, "No, Mom, you're the smart one. You're over my head on a lot of things." But to hear him say, "I'm proud of you, Mom," and to see, see the books and to know that I'm leaving it for him, it's feeling all of it. That's its own reward. Having people read the books and love the books, Oh, I'm so excited because I'm like, yay, you liked it. Did you like this part of the book too? How about this character? Because that was so awesome for me. And I just get to share it with the reader. You know, like I'm so happy you liked it because it just made me happy because, you know, of what it was. But even if not one copy sold, even if not one person ever read the book aside from my son and me, I knew that it was there for him. And that's all I was writing it for. That's all it was
Aw.
for.
It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, don't get emotional. Well, I mean, and I have to catch myself at times because when I talked about, you know, I don't like to talk about my health too much, but um, it's touch and go. And even now, I have developed like issues to where I'm allergic to every antibiotic and steroid, so I can no longer have medications, which means I can
Oh
no
wow.
longer have surgeries and operations. So I have a whole slew of doctors and everything, and I'm still working, and I'm still out there out of school with like thousands of people around me, children, and I don't stop, what I do, and I'm still
Girl,
going
I
to
need
be.
to hang out with you a lot and make me feel like I'm not doing shit. I need to stop complaining.
No, no, it's okay. It's all good. And like I had fibromyalgia when I was diagnosed with that when I was in my 20s. I've had several spinal surgeries. Just things that are just no fun for a lot of people. And one thing I can say about it, with every time, with everything that I've dealt with, you just overcome and keep going. You just keep going. You're here for a reason. You don't know what it is. We're just here, and right now I feel like I'm winging it, trying to find my place and everything with everyone. And
I feel like you're winning.
I,
Yeah,
I
for sure.
guess one reason why I haven't written or started really delving into those other genres is because I really want to get this finished. And as morbid as it may sound, I want to make sure I do it within my lifetime. That I want to have this finished. So I want to make darn sure that I put my best into it and that you get the best me. And one thing about it, I'll be leaving, myself and my legacy behind, and me and my personality and everything will live on through these words. And so, that to me, that's just amazing. To me, that's permanent.
Yes.
And we still read Poe. We still read, Tolkien. We still love Shakespeare. And it's like those words have lived on. And they lived
Yep.
on because of those words. So I think all of us and all of you play a part of that too. Everyone here, Kay, Indy, and Lyha for sure. I mean, y'all play a part in these too. Y'all keep our stories alive. Y'all keep us inspired to write and give us guidance and help us grow, and that helps us write more. So y'all are reaching the people just as much as we are. So y'all are
Aw.
just as important as we are. And so we thank you. I know Jeffrey
You know,
down there,
gosh.
we
Yeah.
definitely have to.
Now we're all getting emotional. Let's-
You're making me cry. I'm gonna be known as the person that the crier. She's the person
Ooh.
but yes, but yeah. So I think this story is gonna be fascinating, and I think a lot of you just might enjoy it.
I would agree with you
100%.
wholeheartedly. I
Yeah.
was totally captivated when you were telling us about it. Totally captivated.
Yeah.
Trust
Well,
me. Leonie and I have had hours long
hours
conversations
conversation.
about the book, life in general, work, you name it, we've talked about it. And yeah,
I love our
she's great.
afternoon sessions.
Yes. We need to get back to doing that.
Yes, but
Actually.
Aw.
I'm so happy that y'all had me on, and I'm so
Yes.
excited to get to share my story with everyone.
I'm so
Thank you
excited to
so
share
much.
you out.
Well, thank you.
My gosh,
So
this is going
tell
to be
everybody
amazing.
where they can find you. Do you have a website?
I have a link tree for now. I'm developing the virefire.com, website, and I'll be out there. But I have a link tree. I'm on Goodreads. I have published through D&D and D2D and Amazon and Barnes and Noble. So the books are literally everywhere. everywhere you can get books, pretty much. And Bama's going to be the first one to get a book box, an autographed book box. He has asked. He's a very
lucky.
first one ever. So if anyone's
Go, Bama.
interested in anything like that, just send me a message, or contact me through my email. It's out there on Linktree, and see what we can do to get you all of the things. And it has
Felicia.
It has
Felicia said she wanted the bookmark.
Just send me
Everybody's
the price
gonna want a
that
box.
I owe you because I want it
Yeah.
all.
That's true.
Okay.
And Bama, I want it all. Just send me the price.
Bama.
You know how to get a hold of me.
Yes,
Same girl.
Thank
you so much. It's been so much fun. You're amazing. I hope you come back and visit anytime.
Sure.
Guys, we're having a big Halloween event on October 29th. Everybody can come. Wear a costume if you want to come up and hang out with us.
It's the day after my birthday, so everybody
We're gonna
come.
be judging you.
That's right. We'll be in costume.
Yeah, when he turns 21 again.
Yes. Won't I be
Shot.
awesome? We can go drink.
Woohoo!
We'll do one for you.
Maybe we'll do some karaoke, Lyha.
Oh, let's go.
Oh,
Y'all have fun with that. I will be
I'm definitely
cheering
gonna
you
need
on.
shots for that. That'd be fun.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you so much. 160K. Thank you, guys.
Oh, great job. Great job, everybody.
Y'all have
Bye.
a great
Thank
day.
you.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.